Hyperlight Drifter is one of those indie darlings that got a ton of praise from every outlet when it released, and at first glance, it definitely deserves it. The game is a beautiful experience for the senses, and it has plenty of unique mechanics that set it apart from other indie titles. But the game is far from perfect. Let's take a look. Heart Machine went to painstaking lengths to craft this game. The first place to see this is in the art style. The awe-inducing and color-rich environments lure you right in. From the Neotech Underground to the Lake Town, there is no lack of diversity in this post-apocalyptic world. Each of the 4 regions have such a unique feeling to them, complete with unique monsters and races. And of course, there's the music. Most of the music is droning and industrial to reflect the remnants of the world you're exploring, but some of it is very soft, whimsical, and even inspiring when necessary. It really is the cherry on top to the superb art direction. Much like the art style, the game's storytelling is intentionally vague and tasks the player with interpreting events and scenes for themselves. What happened to this world? What is the significance of the recurring dog motif? Why is there a button dedicated to your character littering? Most of this vagueness happens because Hyperlight Drifter is a game that is presented without words. Instead, all dialogue interactions are presented as pictures that the characters want to convey. There's a lot of novelty in this approach to dialogue. Interactions are direct and tell a story, but often they're just fragments of something bigger. Take this drunk guy, for example. His story is that he got beaten up and robbed when he came into town. But let's dig a little deeper here. This guy is blue-skinned, like your character, and other than those two, there are very few of this race in the world. One place they appear is in this cloning lab, where they are in tubes accompanied by monsters. The other place they appear is in this forest, and here they're crystallized like the raccoons in the region. However, they appear to be in battle against the raccoons. It seems like the blue-skinned people were originally created with evil intention, and while it's not clear what changed, now they seem rather innocuous. The violence against the drunk now changes from being a crime of opportunity to being a hate crime, but what changed in the drunk for him to come to town in the first place? And are the townspeople somewhat justified in their actions? The high-speed combat is what really makes this game for me. When done right, it feels so satisfying to dash around killing enemy after enemy without getting hit. The core component of combat is dashing, which relies on button press timing, but it doesn't always feel consistent. It takes a stupid amount of time to get used to the small timing window of performing a successful dash, and for a brief time, I thought the mechanic was broken entirely. But having control is the whole point of combat, and there are other mechanics in place to support this too. After a dash combo of 3 or more ends, you will slide to a halt. Your character is briefly uncontrollable, and you can crash into walls or slide off cliffs in this state. This is fun the first 10 times or so, but constantly being unable to control your character becomes a real drag. Literally. Speedrunners of the game avoid sliding entirely because it ends up slowing them down. In the end, it's more of a hindrance than an incentive. There's one more mechanic I want to briefly shed some light on. Ammo for your ranged weapons is recharged by using melee attacks on enemies or destructibles in the environment. What this effectively does is incentivize your ammo resource. It's not about conserving ammo anymore, but instead running that line between empty and full. You can't infinitely stay at ranged in battle because sooner or later, you have to get uncomfortably close to be able to use your guns again. I don't think my issue with this game are solely with the mechanics itself, but more with the enemies. There are 20 basic enemies overall, but only 5 of them have more than just one attack, and one of those 5 just explodes when it dies. Each enemy on its own is not hard to overcome, and that's probably my biggest complaint. They're big bruisers with a large health pool and strong attacks, but they are always slow and incredibly easy to kill. I wish there were more quick enemies that attempt to dodge you, or enemies that can't be hit from the front, or something, just anything that makes combat more tactical and diverse than always charging the enemy head on. What actually makes the game difficult is throwing out mobs of enemies at once. It's an incredibly fun experience to dodge turrets and other projectiles while fighting through dozens of enemies, but by the end it starts to feel repetitive, and even more so on further playthroughs. The southern region alleviates this problem by having 3 boss fights throughout it, instead of just one. One night only monster boss slam. Big boys, bigger attacks, huge health pools, the largest arenas on the planet. Boss fights are easily the best part of this game, and they fit 7 in, which is a good number for the length of the game, but I really would have loved to see more, or some of the boss's big, hard-to-dodge moves utilized outside of a boss arena. Bosses telegraph their moves and you can learn from your failures, whereas there's just too much going on in normal combat to keep track of it all. Part of what keeps this game going is the upgrade system. It's based on the game's currency, and with it you can buy new abilities, ammo upgrades, and other things of the sort. In many cases, I think they make things too easy. The charge attack does the most damage in the game next to the shotgun up close, and with either of these, you're able to instantly kill any enemy that isn't a tank, and you chunk bosses. Exploration is also infuriating. If anything is worthwhile, it's signposted with a little mark on the ground. But sometimes it's very difficult to see, or not even posted. There's invisible paths, secret rooms, and even secret rooms hidden inside secret rooms. So what kind of rewards do you get for exploration? The most common is money, and the more you find it, the less you want to see it. There are keys. You open locked doors with keys, and inside is more money, and usually a new set of clothing. The game does not tell you that new clothing gives you buffs, so it's up to you to figure out that they do, and what they do, or to consult the wiki after you're done playing, like I did. The buffs are good, but the amount of effort just doesn't feel worth it. And finally, you can also discover what are called monoliths when you're exploring. These things generate some glyphs when you activate them, which translate directly to English, but good luck figuring that out on your own. There's 4 of these in each region, and when you put all the translations together, they give you a cryptic history lesson about the area. Most of the time, these explanations are also expressed through dialogue that's a lot easier to understand anyways. You're better off giving these a pass in-game and just reading their translation online. It's pretty disappointing, really. The whole ARG vibe could have been really cool if it gave better insight to the world, or even if a translation was more evident. The idea of New Game Plus is always appeasing. In this game, your health is lowered and you start with all your abilities, so you can hit the ground running. But in reality, it is a much, much lesser experience than the normal playthrough. You're barred from changing part of your clothes and you can't buff your health, so between that and starting with all your abilities, there's absolutely no incentive to explore anymore. Oh, and now that you only have 2 health points, many enemies can kill you in one hit, as does every boss attack. That is the one redeeming part of New Game Plus. This is the definitive way to experience the boss fights. It is difficult as all hell and you will die a lot, but damn, does it test your abilities, and it is easily the most rewarding part of this game. When you finally defeat a boss, you get a satisfaction like none other, and it makes it all worth it. At least the boss fight itself. Overall, there's a lot I like about this game, and I really want to love it, but there are just too many issues. This game gets a 3 out of 5 from me. The progression system is unbalanced, enemies are mechanically uninspired, exploration feels very contrived and forced, and New Game Plus is an entirely missed opportunity. But there's plenty to love about this game. The dialogue system is unique and fun, the combat is delightful to experience in parts, and this game is absolutely beautiful to see and hear. Honestly, it's well worth your time and money to experience. It is not a perfect game by any means, but I see the greatness it could have been, and that's why I rip on it so much, and also why I beat it 3 times. I'm very excited to see what Heart Machine is up to in the future, and I hope they take their feedback to heart. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, think about giving it a like. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe to my channel. There's plenty more on the horizon. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback on anything about the game that I may have missed, any suggestions you may have for me or my channel, or anything else. Thanks again and have a great day.